credit cards are not just for spending. In fact, throughout my 16 credit card journey, only a handful of them are for daily spending. The rest provide value in other ways like credits and benefits. Now, in the first year, most credit cards are worth it, even purely because of their welcome bonuses. For example, the Chase Sapphire Preferred has a 60,000 point welcome bonus, which at minimum is worth $600 for a cashback, more than enough to cover the $95 in annual fees. But what's more important is justifying the card from year 2 and onwards to see if it's still providing positive value year after year, or if it's time to cancel or product change. So in this video, I'm looking at all the cards I've had and breaking down exactly how I use the credits and benefits on the cards to give me more value than I pay in annual fees. Now, my first few cards don't have any credits, and that includes the Canadian BMO SBC card, the BMO MasterCard, and the Bank of America Travel Awards card. Which brings us to the first major card I got, which is the Chase Sapphire Preferred, which has gone through some changes over the years, but here we'll talk about the most recent version. Again, in year 1, it's totally worth it, with $600 more than covering the $95 in annual fees. But how have I justified keeping this card open year after year, paying that $95 in annual fees for over 5 years now? Well, surprisingly, even though this card has one major credit, the $50 each anniversary year for hotel stays booked through the portal, I pretty much write that completely off because of a few reasons. One, for most of my travels, if I'm traveling in a bigger group, I'll be booking Airbnbs most often. Or if I'm booking hotels, I'll consider using points first, which is what I did earlier this year booking the AC Tokyo Ginza Hotel. 2, in the rarer cases where I'm booking with pure cash, I'll look through the Fine Hotels and Resorts program first using my Amex Platinum, or I'll book using lower cash rates I find outside of the Chase portal. And 3, this $50 credit is just not top of mind compared to all the other credits I have on my other cards. In fact, when it comes to travel related credits, this is pretty much near the bottom of the list, which doesn't really get hit much. Which is why I consider the value of this credit basically zero. But of course, I've had this card for so long, then how have I justified keeping it open? Well, with the Sapphire Preferred, you do get some partner benefits that help bring it more value. The Lyft partnership is just earning more points, so we'll ignore that, but the one I care about most is DoorDash and their Dash Pass, which saves me on delivery fees and gives me a discount on all of my orders. The perk itself would have costed $10 a month or $120 every year, which is more than enough to cover the $95 in annual fees every single year. Now, I don't use the Instacart credit or the Peloton credits, nor did I use the $10 monthly GoPuff credit when it was still around, but if you do, then that's another couple $100 you can get out of this card. But in my case, just the Dash Pass and the Chase points earning alone is more than enough to justify keeping this card open, especially because it allows me to transfer all of my Chase points out to travel partners for some outsized value, something only a few cards have. The Chase Sapphire Preferred, the Chase Sapphire Reserve, and the Chase Ink Preferred, which is a card I recently got. And with 5 business class tickets redeemed and over 600,000 points burned, all including Chase points to some degree, I would say that it was well worth it. And so a tip here is to really plan out how you'll use your credits and set everything up so it's easy to use, like making this card the default payment option on DoorDash or Instacart. Alright, so next card is one I got pretty early in my journey, and that's with the Marriott Rewards Premier card. A card that's been succeeded by somewhat better ones like the Marriott Bonvoy Boundless cards. That said, when I got this card years ago, the main perk was, of course, the welcome bonus, as well as the free night certificate every year of up to 25,000 points. Now, 25k might sound pretty good back then, but nowadays you can barely find decent hotels in that price range. Throughout the years, I think I stashed up 3 25k certificates, and because of you know what over the last few years, there were some extensions that pushed the deadlines, which was good because I only used these in the last few years. And a pro tip, remember you can add up to 15,000 extra points on top of the certificate so you can qualify and use them for higher tier hotels. hotels. For me, one, I booked at the Douglas Autograph Collection, which was a 40,000 point room, meaning I had to top up the maximum 15,000. Two, I booked the Sheraton Vancouver Wall Center for 30,000 points, topping up 5,000. And three, I booked the AC Hotel Portland Downtown, which was 37,000 points, topping up 12,000. Overall, I've had this card for 3 years, so 3 times 85 or 255 in annual fees, which gave me those 3 certificates as well as more than enough points to do those top-offs. I will consider more Marriott cards in the future if I have plans at staying at those properties, but I will say that certificates aren't actually that easy to use. Because although something like 3 free nights up to 50k each sounds amazing, you are both limited to Marriott properties and you might be pressured to use them suboptimally if they're reaching expiration. That said, I do think I got more than my money's worth with the Marriott Rewards Premier card, given I had those 3 nights, which would have costed $200 to $300 each. And then comes my most value-packed card, of course, the American Express Platinum card. Yes, there is the pretty scary $695 in annual fees, but I've more than justified that cost for almost 5 years now, and here's exactly how. First, we got the $200 hotel credit that only works for the hotel collection or fine hotels and resorts. In my experience, I've purely booked through the FHR given they give better perks. Because on the hotel collection, you'll need to stay a minimum of 2 nights to get the $100 experience credit and a room upgrade. Whereas on the FHR, there are no minimum nights, you get the same perks on top of better check-in and out time and breakfast for 2. Now there is a good and a bad about this card. The bad is I don't usually see that many great deals when looking at FHR for most of my travel. But the good is that Vegas is a popular spot and that's where I've seen the bulk of deals. For example, looking at a date in September, Google shows a rate of $237 for the Bellagio, whereas on Amex it shows $279, so about $42 more. However, based on that, you get the $100 experience credit and daily breakfast for 2, which comes out to $60 a day, which more than covers that difference. Heck, that basically brings your nightly rate to just over $100, and that's without counting the room upgrades or the check-in and out times. And remember, you'll then also apply the $200 credit on top of this booking, which basically means you essentially get a free couple nights in Vegas every year. But apart from Vegas, you might want to look at some deals that will pop up when you're searching through the portal. For example, at the IHG Osaka, there's a complimentary 3rd night on top of the regular FHR benefits, or an extra $100 property credit when staying at the W Osaka. So the hotel credit is a big one, but another major credit I've used is the $200 airline credit. I don't fly domestically for leisure that often, and when I do, it might be for work, so bag fees and things are covered. I also don't really purchase Wi-Fi or extra food on the plane, so the credit isn't used there either. Where I do use this credit is towards seat selection, specifically selecting seats in the premium section of economy. That is different than premium economy cabin. Basically, by going with a selection, say on Alaska, you'll get extra legroom, free alcohol, and early boarding for overhead space, which is important especially if you're not checking luggage in. For my trips, it's usually about $100 each way, so 1 round trip a year is enough to hit this credit. Next, of course, is the good old $200 in Uber credit. Going forward, it might be harder to hit now that I have my own car, but given it's only about $15 a month, 1 meal order should already cover it, or maybe a couple Lime scooter rides. Then there's the Saks Fifth Avenue credit, which is $50 every half, which is usually used towards gifts, but if I don't use it towards gifts, then I'll treat it as a little splurge in case something catches my eye. Better yet, make your purchases when there's an elevated cashback from Rakuten, where from my experience, there's usually 1 to 2 times a half where there's 10% or more cashback at Saks Fifth Avenue. If you don't already have Rakuten, check out using the links down below where you and I will both get a bonus and it'll be a great way to help support the channel. Thank you. Then lately, I've been using the $189 in Clear credit, which really helps speed up my airport process. Basically, Clear gets me past the first line and past the ID check, and having my Nexus card gets me the special lane where I don't need to take out any electronics or take off my shoes through security. Between all of those credits, that's a value of $889 every year, or a positive value of almost $200. But another tip, try and front load all of your credits or plan out exactly when you want to use them. For example, make your Saks Fifth Avenue purchase early in the half so you won't feel rushed or forget. I've definitely made that mistake. Then in addition to those perks, I usually try and use my lounge benefits, usually Centurion lounges here in SeaTac, or my Priority Pass lounges otherwise. Say I have 4 visits a year, which is pretty doable, at $20 of value each. That's an additional $80 from that single perk. And in years like this where I'm traveling a lot, I'll be getting even more value from that. And that's not counting all the other benefits like travel and purchase protections, hotel elite statuses giving me upgrades, or if I want to start using other credits on this card like the $240 in digital entertainment, which seems like a popular one, or Walmart Plus, among some others. Now running through my cards, I've also had the United Explorer and United Gateway cards, but no use of credits there. And same goes with my Chase Freedom Flex card. But one card I'm still loving almost 2 years later is the Capital One Venture X card, or the pay you $5 every year card. Simply by using the $300 a year travel credit on the Capital One portal, and the $100 worth of miles every anniversary year. For me, the miles just contribute to my award bookings, which you can learn more about in the corner, but the $300 was used for domestic flights between Amsterdam and Barcelona near the end of last year, and then this year booking some short hops around Southeast Asia in a couple months. Both of which I cross-checked with other sites like Google and Expedia to make sure the prices were pretty similar. Now another credit or benefit I'll be using later this year, which isn't directly monetary but is worth mentioning, is the Hertz President Circle. Because I'm going to Hawaii and renting a car, it's gonna be nice to pay a lower price and then get bumped up when I'm there. Another perk that's worth mentioning is further down the page, and that's the Gravity House, prior subscription, and the Cultivist perks. But my experience is actually forgetting that I've had these perks and paying out of pocket for some of the museums I went to in Europe, when I could have used this perk to save another $50 or so. So tip here is to really understand all of the perks that your card comes with. Now for some of my other cards, like my 3 Chase Ink cards as well as the Chase Freedom, there are no credits to use, so they either have no annual fees, or I justify them in other ways that you can learn more about up in the corner. But one card I recently got that I do plan to use credits on is the Amex Green, with its $189 in clear credit not really having a value to me given it overlaps with the Amex Platinum card, and the $100 a year of Lounge Buddy credit which I may use. Because although I do have lounge access on some of my other cards, this could come in handy since I'm traveling with a bigger group, so I could pay for extra access to certain lounges. Now the Priority Pass on the Venture X does come with unlimited lounges, so it'll really depend on which lounges I'm visiting. Another way is to use this Lounge Buddy credit to buy access for other people. But either way, whether I use the credit or not, that's okay, because like we talked about earlier, the first year of most cards is worth it, and this card is no exception with the 60,000 points and $200 welcome bonus I received that will really justify this cost in the first year. Now that was a lot of credits, but you can start to see how people can really profit from these cards when used in the right ways. So if you're interested in getting started or kicking your journey into high gear, go on and check out this video for how to build your strategy no matter your level. See you over there.